Hi guys, a little bit of a different video this evening. So I don't know if everybody who follows the page knows about all the other animals that I have. So I feature Sky and Abe a lot on my page, but I don't really talk about my other animals that I have. So I'll do a quick rundown, and yeah. So I have 4 full-size horses. I have Billy, Jake, Faith, and Roxy. So those 4 are kind of how this whole animal thing started. So Faith is the one that I have now that I've had the longest, and then Billy, and then Jake, and then Roxy. So all of them are rescues of some sort or another. The 2 grays, so Roxy and Billy, are from the Indiana Horse Rescue, also where I got Scarlet, but I'll get to her in a second. So those 2 were from the Indiana Horse Rescue. Billy I got as a lease when I needed to do drill team in 4-H. The horse that I was using at the time, Pro, my first horse, who I lost in 2008, he needed to retire because of an injury, and so I got Billy as a lease for drill team, and then I ended up keeping him because that's just who I am. But Billy is my heart horse. He is my favorite horse that I have. He is my buddy. He's my bud. And then there's Roxy, who I got from the Indiana Horse Rescue as well. She came to me in 2012 for training because she had been mistreated most of her life, and I don't mean like beaten or abused or whatever, but she just was never taught how to carry herself properly, and so she had a lot of physical things going on with her because of the way that she was ridden. And before I got her, the lady who had her had leased her out to a 4-H'er or something. I don't know a lot of details, but they had just left her in a backyard. Didn't really feed her, didn't do anything with her feet. So when I got her, she was pretty underweight. Put some weight on her, and when I first got her, and the whole time that she had been ridden before me, she had no brakes. When you would pick up on her face to stop her, she would pull and run, like take off. So I had her for 2 months for training, and at the end of the 2 months, her owner was like, "She is working for you better than she has ever worked for anybody. Do you want to keep her?" And I said, "Yes, I do." So she's awesome. She's an awesome horse. She's an Appaloosa. I don't know if you're going to be able to see. She is out there. How do I do this? Right there. That's Roxy. She is, I think, 17 now. And she is Jordan's trail horse. She loves to trail ride. She's fearless. She's an awesome horse. But anyway, so I have those 2 that came from the horse rescue. I have Faith, who is an ex-racehorse. I got her as my English horse to show with, and I showed with her for a long time when I was in 4-H. She's retired now. She's getting older and just doesn't do as well. She doesn't move as smooth anymore, and just, she was a racehorse, so she's not gonna live to be old and healthy and stuff. Her joints are pretty well wrecked. But then I got Jake after Pro, my first horse, passed because I missed having a 3rd horse. So I got him, and he is my reiner. He is the horse that I have the most body control over. He is the horse that really has honed my training skills in a lot of ways, because he's not very smart. He will work so hard for me, but he just is not super smart. So he's taught me a lot. So those are the 4 full-size horses. We're going to be here a while. So I have the 4 full-size guys, and then I have the 2 minis, Piper and Scarlet. So Piper is 4 or 5. Scarlet is 9 or 10, I think 10 now. So Piper, she was 3 years old. Yeah, I was 3 years old when I got her, so she's 5 now. And she came up for sale on Facebook, and I was kind of just drawn to her for whatever reason. I've always had full-size horses. I've never had minis. I've never had a reason to have minis. They're not useful for anything at all. But she came up on Facebook, and the girl who was advertising her said that she was skittish, she was potentially abused, and she would need a lot of work. And I'm like, perfect, because I do that. I take on animals that need a lot of work, and I work with them, and it makes me feel good. But anyway, so I thought, all right, well, she's 3, she's scared, you know, that's very fixable stuff. So I'll get her, I'll fix her up, and then I'll find a good family for her. And that was the plan. But then when I got her, I showed up to this place, and I was talking to the girl who had her. This girl who had her worked for a slaughter yard. So this is where the horses would be dropped off or bought from auction and brought to this place to be sent to slaughter. Which, I'm not going to get into the whole slaughter debate. I am personally fine with equine slaughter. The lack of equine slaughter has really kind of messed up the horse industry in a lot of ways. But anyway, I'm not going to get into that. So this mare, this Piper, this little miniature, didn't have a name. A grandfather dropped her off because she was getting mouthy, like chewy with his grandkids. So he beat her, and then she became too scared to work with anymore. That's what she told me. I don't know how accurate that is, but based on Piper's demeanor, it seemed to be pretty damn accurate. So she's terrified, just absolutely terrified. You couldn't touch her. It took me 30 minutes to catch her. The people there wanted to like rope her for me with a lariat, and I said, no. I'm in no hurry. Just let me, just give me some space, let me work with her. So it took me 30 minutes to catch her, and she was just absolutely terrified. And I found, probably a month or 2 after I got her, she didn't ever want anybody to touch her head. Finally, after a couple months, I had worked up to her being okay with me rubbing her all over her head, between her ears, under her forelock, and whatever, and I found this massive scar that went up between her ears, down through the middle of her face, that her forelock was covering. I think that's why she didn't want me to touch her head. I don't know if someone hit her with something, or if she got in a situation where she, like, jerked her head up and bashed her head, or I don't know, but it's this massive scar that's still there. But anyway, so she was a rehoming project, and then in March of 2017, I started to foster Scarlet from the Indian Horse Rescue, because miniatures can't be out on pasture as much as the big horses can, because they'll get overweight, and that's bad for them. So Piper needed to be in her own area, and I didn't want her to be lonely, so I fostered this other miniature from the Indian Horse Rescue to keep Piper company until I could rehome her. And I didn't plan on adopting Scarlet because Piper was not supposed to be permanent. So I started fostering her, but then in May of 2017, Piper got her leg wrapped in a fence line. It wasn't high tensile. I don't use high tensile for that, but it was like an elastic polymer fence line that I used, and it's really safe. But she's so tiny that she got it wrapped around her leg, and it cut the circulation off, and it caused all of her hair, all of her skin to fall off, and it actually caused her to founder on that foot. So the hoof capsule detached from her leg, and her bones in her foot penetrated the sole of the hoof. So I spent forever and thousands of dollars and a year and a half trying to get her to save her, and I almost euthanized her. I did. But I decided not to. I decided to give her a chance. And then a year later-ish, I think, I think it was exactly a year later, when the vet gave me the news that she would likely be okay, I decided that I wasn't going to be able to rehome her after I brought her back from that. So I decided to keep her. And because I decided to keep Piper, I decided to keep Scarlet too. So now I have 2 miniatures that are completely useless, but adorable as all get out. So I have those guys. Ooh, 10 minutes and I'm not even through the horses yet. Yikes. So those are the horses. I've got the 4 full size, the 2 miniatures, and then I've got the goats. So I have 2 yearling Nigerian dwarfs, Gus and Turbo, that I got from a friend. She had them with her horses for weed control in her pasture. But she was, she's going to build a new barn and had to tear down the old barn, and so she needed to get rid of the goats. So I took them, and they're very skittish of people, not super friendly, pretty scared, which I didn't mind. You know, I have them for weed control, because horses are grazers, meaning that 99% of the time they're going to choose grass over weeds. Goats are browsers, meaning that 99% of the time they're going to choose browse, brush, and weeds over grass. So, perfect. You know, the goats will eat the weeds, the horses will eat the grass, all as well. And that was working really well, but they weren't keeping up with the pasture like I wanted them to, because they're Nigerian dwarfs, they're small goats. And I just got those because that's what was available at the time. So I got 2 more, Colin and Finn. I named them that. And I got them because the older goats were pretty skittish, and so I got these babies, these like 4-month-old babies, to kind of bring up real friendly and to kind of bring the other goats around, and that worked out really well. So I have 4 Nigerian dwarf goats. They are actually useful. They eat the grass, I mean the weeds, they eat the weeds. They're working on this big section of brush right now out by the compost bin. So they're actually earning their keep, which is great. And then I have Belle, the resident barn cat. When I bought this house in May 2017, over 1.5 years ago, yikes, she came with the house. So when I looked at the house in April to buy, there were a bunch of cats out here, a bunch of kittens, litters of kittens. And I just kind of assumed that some of them would stay, some of them would be taken, you know, whatever, when the owners moved. But they took all of the cats and Belle's litter of kittens, but did not take her. Probably because the kittens were ready to be weaned and they wanted to, like, separate them or whatever. But it's 100% their loss because she is an awesome cat. She's super friendly, like obnoxiously friendly. You've seen her in a lot of my videos just because she's always right there. And she's an excellent mouser. God, she's an awesome barn cat. And then I have the 2 dogs, Abe and Sky. So Abe is 4. I got him in November of 2016. He was 2. And he had been in the shelter for most of his life. He was the most severe fear aggression case that I've seen, and at the time, what I had seen was not a whole lot, so it wouldn't have been much to be the most severe case that I've seen, but he was very, very severe. You couldn't look at him if you were standing between him and the exit of the room that you're in. You couldn't look at him in a crate. You couldn't touch him for more than a second or 2, sometimes not even then. You couldn't put a collar on him. You couldn't really do anything like that, and touching his feet was absolutely off limits. And he would flip this switch and become this snarly, like, lunge at your face and bite you animal. It was very scary. But he's obviously very, very good now. He's a good boy now. They found a grasshopper. What are you guys doing? Anyway, so Abe is the reason that I'm a dog trainer now, because I learned so much on the journey with him, and he is now a happy, well-adjusted, well-behaved, mannerly dog. He's awesome. I love him to pieces. I don't know what I did without him before him. And then there's Sky. She is 1-ish. Oh, Abe's a lab mix. I got him DNA tested. He is 50% 2 mix to no, but primarily hound group and terrier group, 25% Labrador Retriever, 12.5% boxer, and 12.5% American Eskimo dog. So he's just all over the place, but he looks like a miniature black lab. He's 35 pounds, he's tiny. Then there's Sky, she's 1. She's also a lab mix, looks identical to him, to Abe. But she is 25% Golden Retriever, 25% Labrador Retriever, 25% Pomeranian, 12.5% Boxer, and 12.5% Husky. So they're just both all over the place, but look identical. But anyway, she is a cupcake dog. She has no behavioral issues. She is just an overexcited, overly stimulated, over-aroused dog. A puppy, really. She's just a year. Very excitable. Didn't know how to walk on a leash, just no manners whatsoever. She's now off-leash trained. She's e-collar trained. She walks perfect on a leash. She knows all of her basic commands, all of those things. She's a very easy dog, but she's a lot of fun. She's funny. She's a goofball. She's all over the place. But anyway, those are the animals that I have now. That could change at any moment because I am a sucker for new animals. I learned something about myself fairly recently. Whenever I'm stressed out, I want more animals. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I can work with the animals and feel good about myself for doing some good in the world. I don't know, but it's a character feature. We'll call it a feature. It's not a bug, it's a feature. But yeah, that's what I do. So next up is chickens, I believe. So yeah, I don't know a whole lot of detail on when I'm gonna get them, what I'm gonna get, all that, but I think that's next up. Because chickens are actually useful. They poop breakfast. How cool is that? But anyway, that's the plan. If you stuck with me this long, congratulations. Yeah. If you have any questions about my animals, let me know. I would obviously love to talk about them. It's a sickness, but I'm good with it. So, okay, let me know if you want me to talk about my animals more, because I would be happy to oblige. Have a good evening. Day, because I post these in the morning. Toodles.